Welcome to the Page by Page Book Club. I'm your host, Paige in Print, and I bring you weekly book club meetings wherever you get your podcasts. Another week, another book club meeting. I'm so glad that you're here, and I think this one's going to be a fun one. So here's what we're going to do. I found a filter on TikTok, and it's like a get to know the book talker filter, so I figured I pulled a bunch of questions from that filter. And we're going to talk about those today. Because you know me, I can make a mountain out of a molehill. I can make a side quest out of just about any distraction. And so I'm thinking between these questions, we can certainly get somewhere, okay? They're going to be in random order. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funky. It's going to be fresh. Feel good about that? She says to the empty room. I'm doing it anyway. Do we just dive in? I know this is a very short intro. I don't really have any life updates other than next week I'm going on vacation and I am so excited. I'm so excited. I am in dire need of a break. I don't know if you watch my vlogs or not, or where you might have stumbled upon me from. But if you do watch my vlogs, you know, girl's been busy. I've been busy, okay? And it's been incredible. There are so many things happening on screen and behind the scenes that are very exciting and I'm very grateful for. But I am clocking in those 80-hour weeks, dude. And that will wear on a girl. So I am looking forward to my vacation. I just took a nice deep breath. And so next week's episode is going to be posted while I'm gone. Are we ready to dive in? Are we ready to go for it? I think we are. I'm just going to go in the order that these questions were fed to me on this filter. Okay? The first question I got from the Get to Know the Book Talker filter is, my favorite character is... I feel like I've talked a lot, at length, about my favorite FMCs being Molly Luck, Lainey Young, and Eden Abbott from Cash, Bourbon and Lies, and Whistleblower. And I have a new addition to this list. Odessa Cross from Shield of Sparrows by Devony Perry has made her way into a top FMC of all time list for me. And I'm talking about Shield of Sparrows again. Yeah. If you are listening to this podcast, this book is now out. At the time of recording, it is not, but I'm obsessed with this book. Holy cow. Holy cow. Time is not dampening my love for this book in any way. In fact, it is strengthening it. I am on the verge of a reread. I finished it less than a week ago. I finished it this week, days ago. Odessa is one of those fantasy FMCs that I can only compare to the FMC in the Plated Prisoner series, where she was not built for this. She was just a girl, and her sister was the one that was set to be a princess, be a spy, move to another country, and very abruptly that plan changed. And she was overlooked, underprepared, and kind of lived in her own world. I think that provided for such a beautiful and unique story arc. Oh, here I go again, y'all. Getting emotional. I have been recording for 5 minutes, dude. I think this episode's just going to be like this. I think it's going to be me on the verge of tears. So that's just, nothing's wrong. I'm emotional today. Odessa's experience has been nobody has chosen her. Nobody has believed in her. Nobody has invested in any way in her. She's been overlooked. She has been left to her own devices, and she is lonely. Yes, this is a romance. Yes, this is a fantasy. But this is also a story about a woman reaching within herself for something bigger. Taking a step further than people's assumptions and people's preconceived notions about her, and becoming a person that she's proud of. In addition to this, she strives and makes an effort, I think, to love herself, to be less lonely, and to ultimately be deserving of the title of queen. It was stunning. So she is another addition to that list of women that I aspire to be more like. In that, there's this one scene I'm thinking of in particular, and she's training with the Guardian to learn to fight. She asks for a sword, and she doesn't know how to wield it, and he's teaching her, and he is pushing her to the brink of exhaustion and pain and frustration and just the internal monologue she has with herself of digging deeper, fighting for more, and also just like recognizing how far she has come and the strength she has gained. It's incredible. I also had the opportunity to listen to this one on audio, and I do want to shout out that Samantha Brentmore's performance as Odessa was next level. It was absolutely phenomenal, and I hope she gets her flowers for this. I know Samantha Brentmore has been crushing the narration game lately, but this one in particular was wow. Odessa Cross, welcome to my favorite FMCs list. The next question is, what is my favorite type of video to make? So if you, again, I don't know how you stumbled upon my corner of the internet, but if you do follow me on social media, I post a few various like bucket types of content. I do daily vlogs. I do specific book recommendations where I'm just recommending like one book. I do series recommendations where I'm recommending one series. I do like group recommendations. So like a lot of them are framed like, so you want a single dad romance. So you want a cowboy romance. And then I'll be like, are you looking for a grumpy single dad? A cowboy single dad? A single dad that falls for his nanny? Like that kind of thing. Those are really, really fun. And I think provide a lot of value to the viewer. Because I am providing usually 25 to 35 recommendations in one video. And so I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but nobody's surprised. My methodology when it comes to content is I want to make content that I want to see. I want to make content that like provides value. So like, for example, I will look up small town book recommendations, and in an ideal world, one video will be kind of like a one-stop shop for lots and lots of options with lots of information. So that is why I set my videos up the way that I do and provide as many recommendations as possible in one video, because that's what I like as a viewer. And then on top of that, I always add the tropes. I didn't always do this, and I know that books really can't be boiled down to just like 3 tropes, but I feel like adding a few tropes provides a little bit more value to the viewer, where they have a more holistic view of what the book is about, if that makes sense. So if I'm just like, here's some single dad books, pop up the books, that's great. But when I add the tropes, I feel like people get a little bit more information or are able to make a better decision based off of that. So those are the hardest videos to edit though, just because I'm adding so many pop-ups and so much text. But I do think that they provide the most value to a viewer. And so those would probably have to be my favorites. I do love the day in my life videos because I think it provides my community with kind of an idea of what my days look like. I think I have my hand in a lot of buckets, if you will, a lot of things juggling in my life, and I do like kind of showing you a peek behind the curtain of what it looks like to balance all of those things. So those are very fun, and yeah, I think those would be my 2 favorite types of content. But I know I went down a rabbit hole, nobody's surprised. I just try my best, and I like the best books that provide, or videos that provide, a really good experience product solution for a reader, where it's like, if you're looking for a specific recommendation, hopefully you can come to my page and find what you're looking for in some capacity. So yes. The next question is the book I have reread the most. That would be In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. I've talked about this book, I feel like, in every episode for the past month, but it is the second book I ever read as a person getting back into reading as an adult, and it's just my comfort read. It's my ultimate comfort read. I will be rereading it for the 3rd time in July of this year. I'm going to read it on my reading anniversary. I was actually thinking about this for a video I'm making. I'm editing it, I think, actually. No, I already made it. Gosh, I make a lot of content, but I was like, I know it's on my list. I was making a video of books I intend on rereading. I have only reread 3 books in my career as a reader. I have reread In a Jam, Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder, and I really feel like there's one more, but I can't put a finger on it. Dang it. Oh well. This episode's off the top of the dome. We don't plan. We just vibe. But yes, I am not one to reread, and I think a lot of that comes down to I feel the need to recommend as many books as possible and rereading books. It kind of stinks to admit now that I'm thinking about it, but it's like, okay, does this provide value to my viewers? Now, I love reading, and there's this balance and this line for me where it's like, as a bookish content creator, I'm doing my dream job. I get to do what I love every day. But there are elements of this that require me to make some informed decisions. And most of the time, how this loops back into this conversation is making the choice to reread a book oftentimes doesn't make sense for me because I could read a new to me book and provide a new recommendation. So actually, though, with this podcast, I have considered rereading entire series to do a specific book club episode on a specific series. So thinking about that, would love to know your thoughts on that. That could be kind of fun. Out of the 350 whatever books that I've read since July of 23, there are a few that I do itch to reread, which is so wild because some of my Roman Empire books aren't on the list, and I don't think that's for lack of loving the book. It's just I'm kind of chasing a particular feeling with these rereads. So my next reread is going to be Heathen and Honeysuckle by Sarah A. Bailey because it's coming out on audio. So yes, I will say I think most, if not all of my rereads will be audio, period. Because at the moment, I am having no luck finding time to read my ebooks. None. That is precious real estate on my calendar. And it's why I've honestly had to step back from ARC reading because it's I cannot find the hours in the day to eyeball read. So I'm doing a lot of audio, and a lot of these books I actually did initially eyeball read. And so I am finding that I am wanting to experience them on audio. Okay. Without further ado, Heathen and Honeysuckle, obviously. I'm going to be doing a reread of Despite It All by Molly Goins on audio. I want to do What Saves Us by Maggie Gates on audio. I am currently, that's what it was, Indigo Ridge. That's the other one I have done a reread on. I'm rereading the Eden's Family series with my childhood best friend. I'm specifically itching to do the reread of Crimson River and Sable Peak. Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I just have not been able to replicate that feeling again. I know that's books are hot button topic, but I loved it. Loved it. So there's that. That's enough of that conversation. We are literally only 3 questions in, and we are probably a third of the way through this episode. Golly. Oh, what a timely question. The book forms I read are e-reader, audio, etc. Per my last email, I really am having a hard time right now with the infrastructure of my life to find time to read ebooks. So I am reading primarily audiobooks, and that's fine. I'm loving it. Everything's great. My most frequent reading time is in the car, commuting, driving places. I am very hopeful that there are going to be some life adjustments coming here in the near future. In fact, maybe in the next few weeks. That will kind of change this layout. But for right now, that's kind of what's happening. My preferred way to read, though, is immersive. So eyeball reading and listening at the same time. I don't have an internal monologue. I know we've discussed this. I do not hear my own voice in my head, ever. Not when I read, not just when I'm hanging out. I do think, but I'm not talking to myself. I'm not hearing my own voice. So I do think that the immersive reading experience allows me for the most comprehensive experience. I'm also an auditory learner, so I feel like getting the information through my eyes and my ears is really, really helpful. I am going to the beach next week. As I said, I'm going on my vacation, and I usually read about 1 book a day while I am at the beach, and I'm really excited about this because I'm going to try to do a lot of immersive reading. Some of the books I have on deck are not available on audio, so it's just going to be an eyeball, and that's great. But a lot of them are immersive, and I'm excited. So, fun. The last book I DNF'd. I don't think I have ever DNF'd a book. I've DNF'd a book at like 5% because I was like, ooh, this is not going to be for me. So I don't really think that counts. But I have never gotten 50, 60, whatever percent into a book and decided to stop. Now, there's nothing wrong with DNFing a book at all. At all. Let me be abundantly clear. You can do whatever you want. As an adult human being, you can make that choice. This is not a holier than thou. This is not a right versus wrong. This is just a what I do conversation and why I do it. Okay? We can have different opinions and still be friends. First of all, I feel I do a very good job researching the books that I'm going to read to the point where I'm like, okay, I am fairly clear on what this is going to be about, and I'm fairly certain I'm going to like it. There are a few books, in fact, that are very popular, like VERY, all capital popular. And I have chosen not to read them because of my research, and what I have learned has led me to believe that those books are not going to be for me. So I've made the choice not to read them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also reading to be entertained. And so I'm like, yeah, let's keep moving. Let's keep going. No problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm unbothered almost. Very few things bother me. So I don't usually have a hard time just chugging along, if that makes sense. I am on record saying I am a fluffy reader and that I don't care. And I have since been told and have thought about a lot. I don't think that that's true. And I don't think that that's a fair assessment because it's I am very much so taking in this information and learning from it. I have kind of gathered that I am more than anything an empathy reader. I am reading as a way to put myself in other people's shoes, to understand someone who's different than me, and to grow as a person. And so every character and storyline and experience is an opportunity for me to learn. A miscommunication is frustrating, but it's probably the most realistic human experience is to miscommunicate. And I get that an argument can be made that it's you're reading to escape, and I get it. I do. But I try as best as I can before getting frustrated or getting to the point of DNFing where I'm really immersing myself in those characters' experiences and making an effort to see that through as an opportunity for me to learn. So to answer that question a little more clearly, I have not DNF'd a book. A book that made me cry that's the next question. I'm a crier. We've established that. I think we've made this very clear. And I kind of feel the most recent books to make me cry, Shield of Sparrows. Let me look at my Goodreads. Pull up the good old trusty Goodreads. The most recent books to make me cry are, I think Devaney Perry's going to be a culprit with both Shield of Sparrows and Merit. So let's start with that. Oh, yeah. I wept at the end of Great Big Beautiful Life. Wept. And I addressed this last episode, so I won't rehash this too much, but it was because I related very deeply to the character's love stories. That was that. Seven of Hearts by Maggie Gates made me cry recently, just because his character I related to very deeply. He's very much so a perfectionist and strives to live a perfect life, and I related to that in such a just gut-wrenching way, so that was tough. Really anything Sarah A. Bailey writes, I'm gonna cry. Boys of Tommen, Throne of Glass. Forever the Highlands by Samantha Young made me cry. The FMC in that book is an actress and kind of struggles with the experience of being perceived at such a large scale, and the way that Samantha described that through her character felt very relatable to me on a very small scale as someone who speaks to a large crowd every day, if you will, online. And that is it was just a really, really interesting way for me to understand myself a little bit better through her character. So that was one that got me pretty good. I think that's a good list right there of books that have made me cry as of late. the last book I purchased was Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. I got it to complete my little family of Ripple Blue Ranch on my shelves. I actually just recorded today a video of all the books I added to my collection in April between the book retreat and PR and those kind of things. And I have found in my book career, between my friends and family gifting me books and then authors and PR companies gifting me books, a significant amount of my collection was not purchased by like me. And I'm sitting here staring at my shelves and it's like, what an outpouring of love in every way, from my husband to my parents to my sister to you guys who have sent me things off of my wish list. Like, what? How cool. And authors who support me, authors who have like supported me and wanted to share my platform to share their books. I mean, it's really, really, really cool. And if I think too much on it, I really am going to cry. So I'm going to probably move on, but let this be my weekly thank you to you for providing me a platform where I get to talk about books and to create a space where receiving books is a part of my life. Thank you. Let's lighten it up. My favorite trope or plot device is... So, yes, my favorite tropes are as follows. Friends to lovers. Always, forever, amen. Reformed Playboy. Been loving the Reformed Playboy. Love that trope. Second chance. I used to be very anti-second chance, and now it is one of my faves, especially like second chance as teenagers, or second chance with like their first chance being as teenagers and then their second being as adults. Like, that's really, really good. Yes. As of late, and I fear this is an extremely hot take, I have been devouring, and in fact, like, specifically looking for She Falls First romance recommendations. There's something about her secretly loving him forever and him finally getting with the program and falling harder. Yeah, that's a yes from me. I've been really loving that lately. So, I don't know. I'm known to say he falls first as he should. And it's like, yeah, as he should. But if he falls harder, we're squared away. We're squared away. We're good. That's again, not to say I don't love he falls first. You know my heart. You get me. You get what I'm saying. I don't know. That dynamic is really interesting, and it often goes hand in hand with a best friend's brother's best friend, or age gap romance, or not all the above, but like a combination. So there's like a forbidden element usually. So I love it. I like that one a lot. Romantic suspense. Obviously, I've read like 70 romantic suspenses in my career as a reader. That's like a large majority of my reading. So that is a classic for me. Cowboy. I don't really want to list all the tropes because that kind of defeats the purpose. Okay. My favorite childhood book or series was... I talked about this at the very first episode of this podcast. I was not a reader growing up, partially because I just felt I wasn't good at it. And it wasn't like a regular practice for me. And so I did not have like a ton of books like as a elementary schooler that I loved. But I do remember every time that I did read and I did get sucked into a book, I always loved it. I always loved it. Some of the ones that come to mind are books that I read for fun were like John Green books. I read those for fun. I was a little too young for Twilight. Well, maybe not, but I wasn't like very online as a kid, so I think missed that wave. But yes, John Green. I read The Hate U Give, and I remember really loving that. I have a shelf actually of all of my high school books that I kept because I actually liked them. So The Great Gatsby was probably my favorite from my school years. I have my original like school copy right there on the shelf, which is kind of fun. The Glass Castle is a memoir that I actually really enjoyed. But yeah, like I remember getting sucked into The Fault in Our Stars and really loving the experience of reading once I got sucked into a book. So I think it's always like been in my heart, which is cheesy, but it's true. Like looking back, I see the signs that this could have been always the path for me. But it is really interesting that like reading growing up just wasn't my fave. But I really loved English class too. Like I think about a lot if any of my like English or literature teachers from school were to ever find out that this is like my job, if they would be surprised or not. I don't think it would be like if they were like, guess which one of your students is now a book recommender. I don't think that they would guess me, but I also don't think if they were told it was me that they would be surprised. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know. But I'm so glad I'm here now. And it just goes to show you how things can change. This next one says my favorite book is. We established this at the beginning of the episode. I think Shield of Sparrows might have taken the cake. I really do. Like, it has consumed me, body and soul. I don't know if you were around at this time, but back in December, I did a series called the Page and Print Awards, where it was the top 5 in a ton of different categories, like 15 different categories. And every day I dressed up in one of my like old prom dresses or homecoming dresses or gowns and did like a little award series for that. It was very fun. So a lot of my top reads from last year are like part of that series, like citing Quicksilver and the 7-Year Slip, Wicked and Wildflower, Heathen and Honeysuckle, Despite It All, His Greatest Muse, Whistleblower. So, like, those were kind of my 2024 top reads. 2023 top reads are, like, What Saves Us, the Eden series, Catherine Cowles, specifically Lost and Found. Oh, Boys of Tommen was 2024. So, it's like, I've had some bangers. I'm looking at my shelves. This year, so far, I have loved Shield of Sparrows. I have loved Picturesque by Molly Goins, Bourbon and Secrets, Victoria Wilder. Oh, that was last year, but so good. Deepened. I know that's a hot take, but Deepened and First Time Caller, they're sitting together on my shelves. That's why they're grouped like that. I am currently reading a book for a podcast interview that I'm doing next week that I think is going to be a top 2025 read, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. My favorite reading spot is the next question. My favorite reading spot is this chair that I'm sitting in right now. I love my home library. It is my safe space. It is the space other than my cubicle at work that I spent most of my time, and I feel really, really lucky that we are in a stage of life where I can have this space for myself, and just like what a privilege to have a room in our home dedicated to books. Like that is such a huge, huge privilege, and I never take that for granted. Every time I come in here and like I have little like sun catchers and like rainbows are shooting all around the room and my books are there, and it's just like it's my space, you know what I'm saying? And I'm really, really grateful for that. So this is my favorite place to read. The most frequent place that I read would either be my car or in bed, because those are the two chances I have while I'm commuting and before I go to bed. So those are like my more frequent places, but this is certainly my favorite. I also love reading by the beach, and I love just reading by the ocean. There's something so healing. I know there's like legitimately like science behind the ocean being healing and the like frequency of the waves crashing and stuff, so love that as well. The last one I have screenshotted is a genre I rarely read. I haven't really read any YA books, and I think again that's just because I missed that period of time in my childhood and adolescence, and so I like, now that I'm an adult, I'm just reading adult romance because it's like, okay, well, I'm an adult, like, you know, so I don't read much YA, but that's not to say I wouldn't. And then a lot of the discourse surrounding Great Big Beautiful Life has intrigued me that I would likely like women's fiction. Again, looping back to an earlier conversation, I am a romance book content creator, and I provide people with romance book recommendations. So really, if I'm going to be reading, I need to be reading romance books. And again, it's not that I have to do this. I'm doing my dream job. Like, this is not a complaint, but I think that is why I stick to romance. I also have not read any like super particularly high fantasy because I fear I do not have the time to commit to such an experience. Like, I'm thinking of specifically, I have interest in reading Brandon Sanderson's backlist, but like that's a commitment. a commitment in which I do not have time for right now. So that's kind of where I'm landing with that. Let's see if there are any other questions I can find. I'm trying to think if I've had any other bookish thoughts as of late where I'm like, ooh, I gotta talk about that. I've just been working really hard lately, guys. I have been growing my business and working with more and more and more authors, which is like so unreal, y'all. Even if you would have told me like 6 months ago that this would be what I'm doing, like I wouldn't believe you. And I actually thought today, I was like, you know, that trend where it was like I had coffee with my younger self today, and I was thinking about like that concept and like specifically for some reason I was imagining like my 12-year-old self-ish, and I was like, what if I told her that this is what I was doing and like this was my job? I think she would be so shocked. Like this wasn't even on my radar or anything I could have imagined for myself. And not that y'all asked for advice, but like never count something out. Never assume it's not for you until you try, because like I would have told you at that age I hated reading. I would have told you in 2022 that I hated reading. I would have told you in 2023 until the summer that I hated reading. Like genuinely. The only thing I was reading was like social media posts, menus, and traffic signs. Reading was not something I was doing. And I was lucky enough to fall in love with a story and fall in love with characters early on in my reading experience. And so maybe this is advice to someone who is on the fence about reading as an adult, who maybe really didn't like reading growing up. Try it again. Find something that interests you. Find something that like makes you curious and give it a try. Maybe try audio if you're worried about eyeball reading, or maybe do an immersive read where you listen and eyeball read at the same time. It is such a beautiful escape in today's day and age. So I think I'm going to just cut this episode off a little bit earlier because I'm going to have to record another episode here to get ahead for my vacation. So I think that that's going to be the plan. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your support. This past week, there have been a lot of new people tuning into the podcast and joining this book club. And so thank you if you've been here since the beginning, if you've joined us along the way, or if this is your first episode. I feel really, really grateful to have you here, and it wouldn't be the same without you. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. You individually, personally. Yeah. I'm appreciative for you. Thank you. And that'll do it. Thank you, as always, for spending your time with me. I'll see you in the next one.